Mark Rudd Larsen coming to you from my half office upstairs in my house. I was going to do it outside, but it started raining, which is all right. And I get to be with my plants, and I'm doing it on this desk that's from the 1920s, which I've had since I was a kid. But yeah, today you got me as the guest, and today we're going to do things that are positive. With all things going on in the world, which is almost always, there's so much negativity focused on that God directed me, and my inner knowing directed me to go the positive direction. So I hope this finds everybody doing well, doing great. And it is so difficult in today's world where we're instant connection with the news and everything else to get really down that the world is just falling apart and there's nothing positive to look at. And the last stuff that has happened in the last week showcases that, and it's sad, but there's always positives. There is positives right now. I'm able to do this sitting at my desk here upstairs with electricity. It's raining out. Got awesome plants over there. Got my health. Gonna have breakfast in a little bit. I'm gonna make some homemade bread so we can have BLTs on homemade bread because we had an awesome lady give us a whole bunch of tomatoes, which she's had some really awesome ones. They're so sweet this year. And then I'm gonna make my shortbread that if anybody knows me, I make it quite often. Have no idea what I'm going to put for the topping. And then Cheryl and I are going to have that sometime today with my, what I quote unquote call fancy coffee, and probably watch one of our, while we're having the fancy coffee in the bar, watch one of my favorite shows on YouTube. It's actually a PBS public broadcast program here from Nebraska. It's called Backyard Farmer. And I love plants, and that is one of the best shows. I really like that. I love plants. I love being outside. And I think this is actually their last episode for the season, so I'm not going to miss that. So we're going to have a kickback, relaxed day, do a little cleaning, laundry, and that's also positive. You can look at that as a negative, that being able to do laundry and clean and is negative, but you have the wherewithal, obviously, to do it if you can. You have the cleaning supplies, the brooms, the dust cloths, whatever. You have a washing machine that can wash your clothes, and it's all perspective. It's all how you look at it, and you kind of forget that in today's world because they just ram the negativity down your throat, and don't let them do that because life is so precious. It goes by so quickly. You'll be 22 and you'll be 62 like I am in a blink of an eye, and you don't want to waste it on negativity because negativity is kind of a downward spiral, whereas positivity is upward spiral. And when you're positive, which generally I am, people can feel that. Kids can always feel it, and it's just like that's why I love being around kids, because we were actually Cheryl and I went and did one of our exploring trips yesterday, and we were at this coffee shop in York, Nebraska, and these two little boys who loved Oreos came in with their mom, and immediately kids like to get close to me, sit beside me, and sometimes not even say anything, but I think they can feel the good vibes. My vibration is, I think, most of the time upbeat, and of course, we all have negative days, but people in general gravitate towards me. And when I was younger, I didn't realize it, but now I definitely do. Um, and I think it's because I also give people a break because we're all going through something. We are, and we need to be more kind and considerate to people when they are going through that. So pretty much that's all the time. So I think you should be kind of considerate always. And we've very much in the United States forgotten that. Just go on the highway, interstate. It's like get out of my way. You're annoyance. You're bothering me, and that's really bad because that's how accidents happen. That's how people get killed. And that they have as much right on that road as you do, and they're probably going to some place that they need to get to too, but they aren't doing the mannerisms that you are by being aggressive and basically abusive to the situation. And I see that so much. It's just like, we all get along much better and we all do the roads much better if we're polite and give people a break. And it's like if they need in, or lane change or whatever, let them do that. How hard is that? And that was one thing I did see yesterday also at this coffee shop. This one lady had gotten a divorce and was getting a divorce. And she was talking to her friend where she could actually help the situation and her son with what was going on. And she's like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't feel like it. And it's like, wow, is that self-centered and selfish at the epitome of it? You could do something, especially to help your son, and you're not gonna do it because you don't feel like it. There is a big red flag. If you're getting and talking like that, you need to take a step back and see what is actually going on in your life. I think it's from hurt, I'm pretty sure, but you're hurting your child in the way you're doing that. That's never a good thing, and it's never a good thing when you hurt anybody. And but just look at the positive side. Yesterday sure, it was awesome. Got a great meal at Cracker Barrel. Way too much food, but I'm blessed to be in a country where I can get way too much food. There's people around the world probably wouldn't have that much food in a week, and it is way too much. But it was very good. Had a great wait staff. She was excellent. Always loved going through their gift area, their store. Had a lot of Halloween and Christmas stuff already out, and anybody who knows me, I do a little Halloween, but I definitely do a lot of Christmas stuff for collecting, and so that's another gift because there's a lot of people in the world that people aren't able to collect things just to collect them, because they love to do it. Um, and I mean, it's all perspective. If like easy for me to say, it's all perspective, and whatever you are going through in life, you can look at it negatively or positively. And some stuff's much easier to look at positively, and some stuff is very hard to look for as the positive side. Like I've said many times, the cancer and Cheryl's all her health issues over the years have been hard to look at positively. But she's here. We've been through it. She has all that information, and so do I. Not as firsthand as she does, to help other people going through it. So it's a gift. It is a gift, and you can look at what we're going through in this country. That the country's going downhill, and we're done for. Or you can look at we can come together and say no more of this negativity, no more of this dividing, no more of it, and you can come together because one way you can control people is divide them, and they've been trying to do that for many years in this country, and I think the world in general. And I am very suspicious. What went on last week was a travesty, but I'm also the narrative afterwards makes me wonder that just further dividing us. Look, I mean, you look at you're Democrat, you're Republican, you're whatever. It's like that is their right. And whether everybody thinks this way is a Republican or Democrat is not the truth. No two people think the same way anyway. But to pigeonhole somebody that they're like this person because they're quote unquote whatever it is short sighted and actually ignorant. And we don't want to be ignorant. And there's so many opportunities not to be ignorant in today's world, and especially in this country. And reach out to people. Reach out, talk to people. Get their perspective. We don't talk anymore. And that's one thing I also see. People use their phones as an excuse not to have to say pleasantries. Hello, or open a door or anything because they got their phone in their hands. And that is one thing I also believe that we should not let children have phones until what was it, Germany with 13 or 14. I think that has to be a must. There's no reason why a parent should give a phone to a child. There's no reason. I grew up without it. You can do it. It may be a pacifier to the parent to know that the kid has it, but I think it also is a pacifier for the kid because they don't have to. The kids are in their zombie state with their phone, and the parents don't have to do anything. And and I know parents are very overwhelmed, but parents have always been overwhelmed. There's always been some situation, before we had a lot of vaccines, which is another plus. There, like polio and stuff, the kids would get sick and die, and if that didn't stress a parent out, I don't know what would. We have so many things that really we take for granted, and we just need to look at the positive side. Look at the positive side. Next time you're outside, go say hello to your neighbor. Go do block parties. I had a lady yesterday, or the day before. She wants to get it together a group that's going to go caroling this Christmas. Why not do it? Go back to when I was growing up, and even before that. when we did that stuff. You knew your neighbor. And that's one reason why I like Nebraska. It's like one reason why I like where I'm at. I know my neighbors. We're awesome. When we have something go on, weather-wise, a lot of times, we come together. Ice storms, tornadoes, hail, whatever it is. We take care of each other. And that's greatly missing in a good share of this country and a good share of the world. And until that comes back, we're going to continue to have this continuous, I don't know what you can call it, where they're going to be able to manipulate us. Divided we fall, united we stand, divided we fall is 100% true. And, when you don't talk, it's very easy to divide you. And just think all the situations and all the conversations and maybe coffee or whatever your choice of drink is, you're missing from not knowing your neighbors. And that's one thing. These people putting these stupid fences up around their house, you're making yourself a prison. Think about that. You're doing the self-imposed prison. You're standing in your house. You got a big fence around your backyard so nobody can see in. I think that's a prison, but you're doing it willingly. Maybe it's time to take down the fences. Maybe it's time to go and say hello to somebody's going by. Maybe it's time to help somebody that's struggling to pay their grocery bill. Maybe there's a lot of maybes. Do it, and I could go on a long time, and I don't want to go negative, but there's so many ways to turn every situation pretty much into a positive. Even with what went on last week, could be some positives come out of that because I personally didn't know the gentleman. I don't know how I missed him, but I did not. And I find him very inspirational from what I've known since the occurrence last week. But it brought my attention to something positive. And there's always good, pretty much, can come out of a negativity. Positivity can come out of a negativity. But we have to make sure we're aware that is, and that the world's not ending, and that we're not going to all be like the 2030 narrative, which is also what I say. What we allow continues, and we act like we're helpless. We do. We act like we're helpless. It's just like I talk to more people. It's like, well, if we allow it, it will continue, or it'll start. You have the wherewithal. You have the power to do stuff and make a change, make a difference. Start your own organization, start your own podcast. This is like the 314th episode, and then I'm doing one on Wednesday, and I'm getting to talk to amazing people around the world. And this one coming up on Wednesday is actually an amazing person, is right next door. He's really close in the area, and it's so uplifting. Get out and talk to people. It's scary. Yeah, you're gonna put yourself out there. But what's more scary? You're getting your head and you keep thinking, the world's ending, it's ending, this is the end and everything. And it's like you basically go in a downward spiral. Never good for anybody, including your blood pressure and health. But there is so many things that are good. Like I was just telling you what Cheryl and I are going to do. Like I'm sitting here doing this podcast, that I have the ability to get this podcast out to the world with basically just a few strokes of, keyboard and some programs. And that's why I always believe people should all have a podcast. We all have something to do. We all have something to give to the world. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. I always believe if you're still here, you still have something you're supposed to do. And like I've said many times, if you have your dreams and you know your dreams, which hopefully most people would know, I gave them to you for a reason. He wants you to do those. And he does give you the wherewithal. I have so many people say, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. That's one reason why I started the podcast. Because more than likely you probably don't, but God's going to have it so you work and find a way to get all those things, because that develops you into the person that can do great things, even if it's just a podcast like I'm doing here. But it gets you to be able to do, maybe start an organization, meet the right person at the right time, quote, quote, yeah, that God would put in your place, and you would cross paths. You could change the world. Maybe you're the one that's going to solve some of the world's problems. Don't dismiss yourself. And if you just don't have much education, you don't have much money, don't dismiss yourself. You're here for a reason. 100% here for a reason. And don't ever dismiss yourself. Don't think the world is ending because of what the narrative is. Get rid of your TV. Pretty much, our TV died 2 years ago. We don't have a TV. We have, well, we can use it as Roku, and I also can use YouTube on my computer, my Cheryl and I's computer, and we can do that, and that's kind of what we do. But a regular TV, we never watch local TV because we can't get it anymore. We don't do cable. And I know when I do see the Roku, some of the channels on the Roku channels are unbelievable garbage. And why those are allowed on. I mean, and kids see these. And the negativity. Oh my gosh, the negativity. I am not a big fan of MMA, maybe the discipline, but when you see people hurting each other, we don't allow cockfighting, with roosters and stuff, but we allow humans to do that. What does that say? That says a really not much for humans. Um, Evidently, we're lower than chickens, and yeah, let that sink in. And we let kids see that. And if I'd have seen that, thankfully I grew up in a time where the shows were pretty much nice, and people make fun of those. Those are the kind of shows you need to have your kids seeing. And that's one reason why the phones need to go too, because you can see anything and everything. And even sometimes your best efforts, you still see everything. And we should never let children see the stuff that's on TV nowadays. And it's your job as a parent. And I don't care if you're busy, you do it. If you have the kids, you do it. It might be more difficult for you to do it, and but you do it. You brought the child into the world. It is your responsibility, and I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say it's your job to protect your children's innocence. And I think that's one reason why. And I've done so many podcasts, and maybe another one coming up on suicide, preteen suicides. I know 2, 3, and it's just like, why wouldn't you think the world's terrible? You see people beating up each other. You see endless violence. I wouldn't want to be here then either. Um, it's just like, let your children have a like Leave It to Beaver. And they date myself there, and that was actually before me, but I watched the reruns continually when we had the TV and we could watch MeTV, I believe it was. I know Cheryl got tired of that, but those are nice shows. Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, all the shows that were back in the 60s, 70s, maybe 50s, 60s, 70s, that showed genuine love and it just showed the best of humans, and it showed people taking care of each other, and it didn't show violence. No, it didn't show violence. And I also don't watch the news. I will not watch the news, because I think it's spun to be negative overall to get more ratings. And I don't believe most of the time what the news says anyway, because they do spin it for ratings. But I don't want to get negative. There's so much positive, and people say people aren't friendly anymore. Yes, they are. I've done podcasts all over the world, and I have not really run into maybe one person that wasn't. I mean, and they were friendly. They just quite didn't like their topic. But they're all good, and they all want to help other people. And that's one thing with Facebook groups. It's one thing with online, what I'm doing here. Um, there's people out there interested in the same things as you are. And you just need to get out there. And if you have technology savvy, you can do it. Today's technology is quite easy. And I mean, I've been around it a lot, but there's people out there, and there's some awesome Facebook groups. There's just awesome groups, period. And this gentleman who's going to be on the podcast on Wednesday, I'm recording it on Wednesday, I should say, flew me into a whole bunch of awesome groups that I'm going to be hopefully part of soon. Not hopefully, will be part of. And also, watch your wordage, hope, try, all this stuff. It's like, do. It just has to be non-negotiable. That's what you have to do. Whatever it's going to take to do what you want to do, you have to say there's no flat fail. There's no such thing as fail. You can look at a fail and then spin it, and it's like, what did I learn from that fail? Next time I won't do that because I already learned from the past time. So that was a success. So it is all how you spin it. And life's all how you spin it too. And next time you're outside, go say hello to your neighbor. It might be the best relationship you've ever had in your life. And I guarantee you, going through something too. So give them a break, and give people a break in society and on the roads and highways or wherever you're at. Just give people a break. Because like I said, we're all going through something. So on that, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Dream Kitchen Podcast. And until next time, take care. Bye.